Happy Wednesday, punters. It would be wrong of me not to follow up that the Melbourne Racing Club, it got there in the end. It put its hand up on Monday via Betsy and said that they did get it wrong on further review, that Caulfield didn't play well. Now, I took no pleasure in having a dip at Caulfield, particularly given it's my track. There are good people there. But if you want some authenticity, don't just give your opinions when things are great. You've got to actually have a dip and call it out when you see something. Social media gets rightly at times, a bad rap. And let's say in racing, you'll see stories, these punters wished ill on a jockey. Well, in any society, in any snapshot, you're going to get a bunch of morons. But they're not going to get any follows, are they? So if you want some authenticity and some credibility with your opinions, you can't just bag all the time and you can't just praise all the time. Of course, if you're industry sponsored, you can give some strong opinions about form, but you can't call it out when the industry, in this case how the track was presented, isn't called out. But the best way to keep your job in horse racing, if you're industry sponsored, is to give excuses on behalf of the race clubs or the racing administrators, because the geniuses in racing, and in this case this is both Victoria and New South Wales, just as social media was changing, here's a snapshot, look at all the footy panel shows. Yes, they're terrible, but they have big traction because they're full of opinions. Sure, the opinions can be compromised, but they're full of opinions. And what don't you get in horse racing? You get it. So well done the Melbourne Racing Club, and what I need to underline is the point isn't the contrition. The point is by saying, yep, on further review we got it wrong. The point is now, as customers, we can have confidence going forward that they're onto it and they're not going to present that again. So I wouldn't be surprised if the tipping point was Johnny O'Neill, the great man, who on SEN's Monday Means Test with Wayne Hawkes and Gareth Hall, best hour of racing radio I've heard in my lifetime. It's not even close. And I'll tell you why before I go back to the specifics. Gareth's there as the host and does a very good job. Wayne's there because he loves talking, but he's a trainer who's been involved with a mega successful stable for 30, 40 years. Of course, his dad being the legendary John. And Johnny O'Neill is there because he loves talking. And they're both very good at it. Both super people. So they both give their opinions, hard opinions at times, while still loving the industry and still being invested in the industry as trainer and significant owner. That's really important. Yes, it's easy to take pot shots. It's harder to take informed pot shots. And if, as Johnny O'Neill did, getting back to the specifics on Monday, you say, as I did for whatever that's worth, Caulfield is black shorts. Google that, kids, that's your home track. And you love the people there, you love the place, but that place was presented as a tip. Well, hopefully that caused some change. I put it out on X, on Twitter, and got a heap of traction. Betsy then put it out on Twitter and got a heap of traction, and I noticed SEN track didn't put it out on Twitter, even though it was the most interesting part of the show. Wasn't that interesting? You'd think you'd put something on social media to get traction, wouldn't you? Anyway, that's up to them. They can do what they like. So after people who understand the caper and aren't just taking pot shots said what they said, tweeted what they tweeted, the Melbourne Racing Club put their hand up and we all move on. So this point isn't about any further snipes. Good on everyone. I just want to make one point about dirty form. Now, some geniuses said to me, well, if you're good enough, you'll still win. there were people having a go at Johnny O'Neill because he owns Jimmy Star that was in barrier 1 in the quicksand, and he's just making excuses. Now look, some good judges around, but the only real good judge who's always right is time. Perhaps not coincidentally, the last city meeting that played unacceptably. Now I'm not talking about lane advantages, because the lanes don't move, and it's up to you to know where the lanes are on different racetracks, and rain hits and wind affects it like it did Newmarket Day. I'm talking about played unacceptably without excuse. There's reasons. Was the same meeting previous year, but it was at Moonee Valley, William Reid Stakes Day. William Reid Stakes Day last year was also a tip. So to confirm that the only good judge is time, when the sycophants were saying, it's okay, there's maybe a little bit of advantage on the fence, and people who had any idea were saying no, it's more than that. Let me note, Verdad, deep in the market, unplaced. Next start, Mornington Cup Day, a Saturday City meeting, 1. My Brother's Keeper, unplaced. Next start, Caulfield, it won. The Group 1, Jimmy Star gets beaten 2 lengths by Schwartz. Schwartz is a 2 lengths better horse than Jimmy Star, as much as I'm a better ruckman than Max Gorn. Jimmy Star goes to Sydney, gets beaten a couple of lengths in the TJ Smith, and then wins the All Age. Reserve Bank gets beaten 5 lengths. Then goes to South Australia, wins 3 in a row, peaking with the Group 1 Goodwood. Ballarat Cup Day, which was a city meeting, presented as porridge after a downpour. They don't care about people who actually do their form properly. And in the Ballarat Cup, beaten 5 lengths for 2 horses who couldn't handle the wet. Not just the wet, actually, they handled the wet. They couldn't handle slop, which is what Ballarat Cup Day was. 1, St George, goes to win a Saturday City meeting at Cranbourne. I think it won by 5 lengths. And the other, Kingswood, goes to New Zealand and wins a Group 1. Both well beaten. So to any genius trying to say that if your horse is good enough it wins, you're just wrong.